She thought it was just a job, until the lonely boss whispered, "Stay with me." He fell in love before we explore all the details of this incredible story. Tell us where you're following us from and the time. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. And let's embark on this journey together. The ancient radiator hummed its familiar tune as Veronica Ellis stared at the collection of colorful sticky notes decorating her refrigerator. Each one represented a different promise to herself, a different goal, a different reminder that life was moving forward, even when it felt stuck. Her fingers traced the edge of one note that read, "Luna's doctor appointment, Tuesday, 3 p.m., the paper worn from countless touches. Rain pelted against the kitchen window of her small East Side apartment, creating a rhythm that matched her racing thoughts. At 29, Veronica had mastered the art of appearing put together while feeling anything but. Her box braids were neatly tied back with a purple elastic. Her white sneakers were spotless despite the constant city grime, and her well-worn denim jacket hung by the door like a faithful guardian. "Mommy, can I wear the rainbow clips today?" Luna's voice carried from the bedroom, bright and clear as a bell cutting through the morning silence. At 5 years old, Luna was everything Veronica fought for, pure joy wrapped in brown skin and endless curls, with eyes that saw magic in even the most ordinary moments. "Come here, baby. Let me fix those clips for you." Veronica's voice was warm honey, masking the exhaustion that clung to her bones. As Luna bounded into the kitchen, her yellow pajamas decorated with stars, Veronica couldn't help but smile. Her daughter was sunshine personified, even on the greyest of mornings. She worked quickly, fixing Luna's hair with the practiced ease of a mother who had turned morning routines into an art form. "There you go, beautiful. Now remember what we talked about. Mommy's starting her new job today." Luna nodded solemnly, her small hands reaching up to touch the rainbow clips. "At the place where they fix broken things." Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Like my teddy's arm." Veronica swallowed hard, remembering the teddy bear she couldn't afford to replace. "That's right, sweet pea. And Ms. Diane next door will pick you up from school today." She checked her watch, a simple timepiece with a cracked face that she couldn't bring herself to replace. Time was a luxury she couldn't afford to lose track of, broken or not. The drive to work was a symphony of windshield wipers and Luna's chatter from the back seat. Veronica navigated the busy streets, her mind wandering to the new job waiting for her. A secretary position at an appliance repair shop wasn't exactly her dream, but it was steady work with regular hours. After months of juggling part-time jobs and irregular shifts, stability felt like a luxury she barely dared to hope for. The repair shop sat wedged between a drugstore and a defunct laundromat, its faded sign reading "Rowan's Repairs" in chipped blue paint. Veronica parked in the small lot behind the building, checking her reflection in the rearview mirror. Her high-waisted jeans and simple white blouse were professional enough, she hoped. The denim jacket would have to do. It was her armor, after all. "Ready for your first day of school, baby?" she asked Luna, helping her out of the car seat. The rain had settled into a fine mist, clinging to their skin like morning dew. "Ready," Luna declared, clutching her backpack decorated with astronauts. "Will you make spaghetti for dinner?" "The twisty kind." "We'll see, sweet pea." Veronica pressed a kiss to Luna's forehead, breathing in the coconut scent of her hair products. "Be good for Ms. Diane, okay?" After dropping Luna at school, Veronica stood before the shop's entrance, her heart hammering against her ribs. Through the clouded glass door, she could see movement, a tall figure moving between the shadows of broken appliances. This was it, a new beginning. Another chance to prove that she could do this, could build something stable for Luna, could finally stop running from the ghosts of her past. She pushed open the door, the bell above it announcing her arrival with a cheerful jingle that felt at odds with the shop's somber interior. The smell of coffee and motor oil hung heavy in the air, and the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry insects. And there he was, Silas Rowan, the owner. He stood with his back to her, broad shoulders hunched over a dismantled washing machine. Even from behind, she could see the tension in his stance, the way his grey t-shirt stretched across his shoulders as he worked. When he turned, Veronica's breath caught in her throat. His eyes were the colour of storm clouds, distant and cold, set in a face that seemed carved from stone. A thin scar cut through his left eyebrow, and his light brown hair fell messily across his forehead. Those eyes studied her with an intensity that made her want to step back, to run, to protect herself from whatever judgment lay behind them. "You must be the new secretary." His voice was low, rough, like machinery in need of oil. He didn't offer his hand, didn't smile, just stood there, a wrench gripped too tightly in his calloused fingers. Veronica lifted her chin, squaring her shoulders. She had faced worse than a man who couldn't smile. "Veronica Ellis. I believe we spoke on the phone." He nodded once, sharp and decisive. "Filing system's a mess. Computers ancient. Phone rings too much." He turned back to the washing machine, dismissive. "Coffee makers in the office. Make yourself at home." The words could have been welcoming, but his tone made them sound like a challenge. Veronica watched him for a moment longer, noting the precise movements of his hands as he worked, the way he seemed to fold himself away from the world. As she made her way to the small office, Veronica felt something shift in the air, like the moment before a storm breaks, when everything hangs suspended between what was and what could be. She didn't know it then, but this was the beginning of something neither of them was ready for, something that would change everything. Behind her, the sound of tools against metal filled the silence, and somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled across the sky like a promise. The first week at Rowan's Repairs felt like navigating a minefield blindfolded. Veronica discovered quickly that Silas's filing system consisted of scattered papers sorted by some incomprehensible logic that only made sense in his mind. Customer receipts mixed with warranty cards, repair manuals blended with supply orders, all stuffed into drawers with labels that had long since faded into illegibility. On her third morning, armed with color-coded folders and determination, Veronica decided to tackle the chaos. The radio hummed softly in the background, playing old soul music that reminded her of Sunday mornings with her grandmother. She was deep in concentration, sorting through a particularly daunting stack of papers, when Silas's shadow fell across her desk. "What are you doing?" His voice was sharp, almost accusatory. When she looked up, his jaw was set in a hard line. Those storm cloud eyes focused on the neat piles she'd created. "Organizing," Veronica replied, refusing to be intimidated. "Unless you prefer searching through random drawers every time someone calls about their warranty. I had a system." He ran a hand through his already messy hair, leaving a streak of grease across his forehead. "Everything was where I needed it to be." "Really?" She held up a crumpled invoice from 3 years ago. "Is this where it needs to be? Mixed in with last week's orders?" Their eyes met in a silent battle of wills. Veronica noticed, not for the first time, how his shoulders tensed when he was uncomfortable, how he shifted his weight slightly, as if preparing to retreat. There was something almost vulnerable about it, though she quickly pushed that thought aside. "Fine," he finally muttered, turning away. "Just leave the repair manuals alone. Those stay where they are." It was as close to permission as she was likely to get. Veronica watched him stalk back to the workshop, his movement stiff with displeasure. She couldn't help but notice how his grey t-shirt clung to his broad back, or the way his hands, despite their size, handled tools with surprising gentleness. The morning passed in a blur of paper cuts and fresh folders. Around noon, the bell above the door chimed, and Luna burst in with Ms. Diane close behind. The sound of her daughter's laughter immediately brightened the dusty shop. "Mommy, look what I made." Luna waved a drawing proudly, her rainbow clips catching the fluorescent light. "It's for the shop." Veronica smiled, pulling Luna into a quick hug. "Thank you for bringing her, Ms. Diane. I hope she wasn't any trouble." The older woman shook her head, her silver curls bouncing. "Sweet as pie, as always. You two have a good afternoon now." Luna was already exploring the office, her curious eyes taking in everything. "Hi, what's that?" she asked, pointing to a dismantled microwave on a nearby workbench. "That's Mr. Rowan's project," Veronica explained, trying to guide Luna away from the sharp edges and exposed wires. "We don't touch the broken things, remember? Can he fix my teddy?" Luna's question hung in the air just as Silas emerged from the back room, wiping his hands on a rag. The change in his demeanor was subtle but immediate. His shoulders relaxed slightly, and something in his expression softened as he looked at Luna. "What's wrong with your teddy?" he asked, his voice gentler than Veronica had ever heard it. Luna dug into her backpack, pulling out the well-loved bear with its dangling arm. "He got hurt," she explained solemnly. "Mommy tried to fix him, but he's still broken." Veronica felt heat rise to her cheeks, remembering her clumsy attempts with needle and thread. "Luna, honey, Mr. Rowan fixes machines, not toys." "I can take a look," Silas interrupted, surprising them both. He knelt down to Luna's level, carefully taking the bear. His large hands looked almost comical, holding the small stuffed animal, but his touch was delicate. Looks like a simple reattachment. I have some special thread in the back that might work better than regular string. Luna's face lit up like Christmas morning. Really? You can fix him? I can try. The corner of his mouth twitched almost like a smile. Why don't you draw me a picture while I work? Something to hang in the shop. As Luna settled at Veronica's desk with her crayons, Silas disappeared into the workshop with the bear. Veronica stood frozen, trying to process this unexpected side of him. The man who couldn't smile at a greeting had just offered to fix her daughter's toy. 20 minutes later, he returned. The bear's arm was firmly reattached, the stitching nearly invisible. He'd even cleaned some of the worn fur, making the old toy look almost new again. "There you go, princess," he said, handing the bear back to Luna. "Good as new. Just be careful with him, okay?" Luna hugged the bear tight, then, without warning, threw her arms around Silas's legs. "Thank you, mister. Fix it." Veronica watched as Silas went completely still, like a statue suddenly given life and just as quickly frozen again. His hands hovered uncertainly in the air before gently, awkwardly, patting Luna's head. "You're welcome," he mumbled, carefully extracting himself from Luna's grip. He glanced at Veronica, then quickly away, as if embarrassed to be caught in an act of kindness. That evening, after Luna had fallen asleep clutching her repaired bear, Veronica sat at her small kitchen table, staring at the pile of sticky notes she'd brought home to reorganize, but her mind kept wandering back to the sight of Silas's large hands carefully stitching a toy bear, to the gentle way he'd spoken to Luna, to the flash of something warm and human beneath his cold exterior. She thought about adding another sticky note to her collection. Remember, people aren't always what they seem, but instead, she just sat there, listening to the hum of the city outside her window and wondering why her heart felt just a little bit lighter. The next morning, she arrived at work to find a new coffee filter in the machine and fresh grounds in the cabinet. Silas was already bent over a broken dryer, his back to the office, giving no indication that anything was different. But as Veronica hung up her denim jacket and settled at her desk, she noticed Luna's drawing of the repair shop, complete with a smiling stick figure labeled Mr. Fix-It, carefully pinned to the bulletin board, and if she caught Silas glancing at it occasionally throughout the day, a soft expression crossing his face when he thought no one was looking, well, that was something she'd keep to herself. Some broken things, she was learning, took time to fix, and some people, like old machinery, needed patience and careful handling to reveal their true worth. The radio played on, filling the shop with gentle melodies, and somewhere between the filing cabinets and broken appliances, something began to shift, like static electricity building before a spark, invisible but undeniable, waiting for the right moment to jump the gap between two charged bodies and create something new. The first signs of autumn painted the trees outside Rowan's repairs in shades of amber and gold when everything changed. It started with a phone call, the kind that makes your stomach drop and your world tilt on its axis. Veronica was updating the weekly schedule when her cell phone buzzed. Luna's school. Her fingers trembled as she answered, Silas's hammering in the background suddenly feeling too loud. "Miss Ellis, Luna had an incident during recess. She's running a high fever and—" The rest of the words blurred together. Veronica was already on her feet, grabbing her jacket, her mind racing through worst-case scenarios. "I'm on my way," she managed, ending the call. "I have to go," she announced to the empty office doorway, her voice shakier than she intended. "Luna's sick and—" She turned to find Silas right behind her, wiping his hands on a shop rag. The concern in his eyes caught her off guard. "Take my truck," he said, already reaching for his keys. "It's faster than the bus, and your car's still in the shop." When she hesitated, he added, "I'll close up here. Just go." The drive to Luna's school was a blur of red lights and prayer. Veronica found her daughter curled up in the nurse's office, her usually bright face flushed with fever, those rainbow clips now askew in her damp hair. "Mommy," Luna whimpered, reaching out with burning hands. "I don't feel good." 3 hours and 1 emergency room visit later, Veronica sat beside Luna's hospital bed, watching her daughter sleep fitfully. Severe strep throat, the doctors said. They wanted to keep her overnight for observation due to the high fever. Veronica's phone buzzed with a text message. "Silas, everything okay?" Such a simple question, but it made her throat tight. She typed back, "At the hospital. Luna's sick. They're keeping her overnight. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally. Which hospital? She sent him the details without thinking too much about why he was asking. An hour later, a nurse appeared with a paper bag. The gentleman in the waiting room asked me to give you this, she said with a kind smile. Inside, Veronica found a worn paperback book of children's stories, a small stuffed elephant wearing scrubs, and, her heart squeezed, a container of still warm soup from the deli down the street from the shop. At the bottom of the bag was a sticky note in surprisingly neat handwriting. Kids like stories when they're sick. The elephant knows all about hospitals. Soup's for you. S. Veronica sank back in her chair, the simple kindness of it making her eyes burn. She thought about Silas sitting in his truck, probably wondering if he'd overstepped, if the gesture was too much or not enough. When Luna woke up, feverish and scared, the elephant made her smile. The stories gave her something to focus on besides the IV in her small arm. And the soup. Veronica couldn't remember the last time someone had thought to feed her when she was taking care of everyone else. Morning brought improvement in Luna's condition, and a text from Silas. Shops handled. Take the time you need. But it was what she found when they finally returned home that broke something open inside her. Her apartment had been tidied, not intrusively, just the basics. The dishes were done, the trash taken out, and the sticky notes on her fridge had been carefully reorganized. A new pack of Luna's favorite apple juice boxes sat on the counter, along with children's Tylenol and a fresh box of popsicles in the freezer. On the coffee table, she found her spare key with another sticky note. Hope this was okay. Didn't want you coming home to chaos. Keys back where you hid it under the fake plant needs work. S. Veronica sat on her couch, Luna drowsing against her side, and let herself cry for the first time since the phone call. Not from fear or exhaustion, though both still lingered, but from something else. Something that felt like coming home to find someone had left a light on for you. The next morning, she left Luna with Miss Diane and drove to the shop in Silas's truck, which she'd had for 2 days now. She found him elbow deep in a dishwasher's guts, his shoulders tense as if expecting rejection. "Hey," she said softly. He didn't turn around. "Hey." A pause. "Luna better?" "Much. The fever broke last night." She stepped closer, watching his hands work with mechanical precision. "Silas, the juice boxes were on sale," he interrupted quickly. "And I remember my mum reading to me when I was sick, so I thought—" He stopped, swallowed. "If I overstepped—" "Thank you," Veronica cut in, her voice firm but gentle. "For everything. The soup, the book, all of it." His hands stilled on the dishwasher. "Yeah, well," he shrugged, still not looking at her. "Kids shouldn't be sick in hospitals alone." The unspoken words hung between them. No one should be alone. Veronica moved to her desk, settling into the familiar routine of the shop, but something had shifted, like a gear finally clicking into place. In the quiet moments between customers, she caught Silas watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. And sometimes, when their eyes met across the cluttered space of the shop, neither of them looked away quite as quickly as before. That afternoon, when Luna came by after school, still a bit pale but bouncing back with children's resilience, she ran straight to Silas with a crayon drawing of her hospital adventure, complete with a purple elephant in scrubs. "Look, Mr. Fix-It, I drew you a thank you picture." Silas knelt down to examine the artwork, treating it with the same serious attention he gave to complex repair manuals. "This is really good, Princess. I like how you made the elephant a doctor." "He's a nurse." "Silly. See his special clothes." Luna giggled, then threw her arms around his neck in another of her surprise hugs. This time, Silas didn't freeze. His arms came up slowly, carefully, to return the embrace. Over Luna's shoulder, his eyes met Veronica's, and in them she saw everything he couldn't say: fear, hope, vulnerability, strength. Later, after Luna had fallen asleep on the office couch, Veronica found Silas in the workshop, methodically cleaning his tools. "She keeps the drawings, you know," so she said quietly. "The ones you hang up, she has them all in a special folder at home." His hands paused on a wrench. Yeah. Veronica leaned against the workbench. "She calls it her Mr. Fix-It collection." A small smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, the first real one she'd seen. "Smart kid." "She is." Veronica watched him resume cleaning, each movement precise and purposeful. "Takes after her mother that way." His eyes flicked to hers, holding her gaze for a long moment. The air between them crackled with unspoken possibilities, like exposed wires waiting to connect. Finally, he cleared his throat. "About the key. Keep it," she said, surprising them both. In case we need you again." The weight of those words settled around them like dust in sunlight, making everything both clearer and more complex. And we'd meant more than just emergencies now. We meant trust. We meant choice. And as Veronica gathered her sleeping daughter and headed home that evening, she realized something important. Sometimes the things that need fixing most aren't machines at all. Sometimes they're the careful walls we build around our hearts, the protective circuits we wire around our fears, the safety switches we install against hope. Sometimes they're us. Some truths emerge in the quiet moments, in the spaces between words, in the gentle rhythm of ordinary days. For Veronica, that truth arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, watching Silas teach Luna how to use a screwdriver. "Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey," he explained, his large hands gentle as they guided Luna's smaller ones. They were working on an old toaster, one Silas had deemed safe enough for apprentice practice. Luna's face was scrunched in concentration, her rainbow clips catching the workshop's fluorescent light. "Like this, Mr. Fix-It?" Luna asked, carefully turning the screwdriver. "Perfect, Princess. You're a natural." The warmth in his voice made something in Veronica's chest tighten. She stood in the office doorway, unnoticed, taking in the scene. Over the past few weeks since Luna's hospital stay, something had shifted in their daily rhythms. Silas no longer retreated to the workshop when Luna visited after school. Instead, he'd created a special corner with safed projects, broken clocks and simple appliances that Luna could help fix under his watchful eye. The bell above the shop door chimed, breaking the moment. A man in an expensive suit walked in, his presence immediately filling the small space with an air of authority. "I'm looking for Silas Rowan," he announced, his voice carrying the polished edge of someone used to being heard. Veronica watched as Silas stiffened, his entire demeanor changing in an instant. "Luna, sweetheart," he said quietly, "why don't you go show your mum what we fixed?" Luna bounced over to Veronica, proudly clutching a wire brush, but Veronica's attention was fixed on Silas, who stood slowly, wiping his hands on his work pants. "Nathan," he said, and Veronica had never heard his voice so cold. "Didn't expect to see you here." The man, Nathan, smiled but it didn't reach his eyes. "Little brother, still playing with broken things." "I see. Brother." The word hit Veronica like a physical force. She'd never heard Silas mention family, had assumed from his solitary nature that he had none, but here stood his brother, looking as different from Silas as polished marble from rough stone. "Luna, baby," Veronica said softly, "why don't you color for a bit? I need to handle some work things." Once Luna was settled with her crayons, Veronica moved closer to her desk, close enough to hear, but trying to remain unobtrusive. Something in the tension between the brothers set off warning bells in her mind. "What do you want, Nathan?" Silas's voice was tight, controlled. "Can't a man check on his brother?" Nathan's eyes swept the shop with barely concealed disdain. "Though I have to say, when you refused the position at my firm to keep Dad's shop running, I didn't think you'd actually stick with it this long." 8 years, Silas said quietly. 8 years since the funeral, since you tried to sell this place out from under me, and now you show up. The pieces started falling into place in Veronica's mind. The way Silas treated broken things with such reverence, how he spoke of systems and order, why he worked so hard to fix what others would throw away. Nathan sighed, adjusting his gold cufflinks. "I'm getting married, Silas. Despite everything, you're still my brother. I'd like you to be there." "Everything?" Silas's laugh was harsh. "You mean despite how you blamed me for the accident? How you tried to erase every trace of Dad's life work while his body was still warm? I was trying to protect you." Nathan's polished facade cracked slightly. "You were drowning in grief, refusing to see reason. This place is a memorial to the past, Silas. It's not living." "No," Silas's voice was steel. "Dad, this place is everything Mom and Dad believed in. It's about fixing what's broken, about seeing worth where others see waste. You never understood that. And what has it gotten you?" Nathan gestured around the cluttered shop. "A life of grease and broken machines, living in Dad's shadow. Get out." The words were quiet, but final. "The wedding's in December, think about it." Nathan placed an elegant envelope on the counter. "How you know where to find me?" After he left, Silence filled the shop like smoke. Veronica watched as Silas stood motionless, his hands clenched at his sides, shoulders rigid with tension. Without thinking, she moved toward him. "Silas, don't!" His voice was raw. "Please!" But she couldn't stop herself. She touched his arm gently, feeling the tremors running through his body. "You're shaking." He tried to pull away, but her grip tightened. "Silas, look at me." When he finally met her eyes, the pain there stole her breath. "He's wrong," she said firmly. "About all of it. This place. What you do. It matters." "Does it?" His voice cracked. "Sometimes I think he's right. I'm just stuck here with broken things because I don't know how to let go." "No." Veronica's voice was fierce. "You stay because you see value where others don't. You understand that broken doesn't mean worthless." She gestured to Luna, still coloring peacefully. "You fixed her bear when I couldn't. You make her feel safe and special. You—" She swallowed hard. "You fixed things in our lives we didn't even know were broken." Something shifted in his eyes then, like clouds parting after a storm. His hand came up to cover hers where it still rested on his arm. "Veronica, Mr. Fix-It." Luna's voice cut through the moment. "Look what I drew." She came running over with her latest masterpiece, a picture of 3 figures holding hands outside what was clearly meant to be the repair shop. "It's us, our family." Veronica felt Silas's sharp intake of breath, saw the way his eyes widened at Luna's innocent declaration. Family, such a simple word, but it held the weight of universes. "It's beautiful, Princess," he managed, his voice rough with emotion. "Perfect timing, too. I think we all needed to see that right now." Later, after Luna had gone home with Miss Diane, Veronica found Silas in the workshop, methodically taking apart an old radio. She watched him work for a moment, understanding now why he found peace in the precise movements, the logical progression of disassembly and repair. "Stay for dinner," she said softly. "Luna's been asking to make her special esquetti for you." He looked up, vulnerability and hope warring in his expression. "I don't want to impose." "You're not." She stepped closer, brave in the fading light. "You're never imposing. You're just fitting, like a part that was always meant to be there." That evening, watching Silas help Luna measure pasta and stir sauce, listening to their gentle banter and shared laughter, Veronica realized something profound. Sometimes the most important repairs happen not with tools and parts, but with patience and love, with the slow, steady work of hearts, learning to trust again. And sometimes, the most beautiful things are built from broken pieces, carefully gathered and lovingly reassembled into something new, something stronger, something whole. October painted the city in shades of amber and rust, and with the changing leaves came change at Rowan's repairs. Small things at first, shared lunches in the workshop, lingering glances across crowded spaces, fingers brushing during tool handoffs. But it was the larger changes that scared Veronica most, the way her heart jumped when Silas smiled, how Luna had started setting 3 places at dinner without being asked, the growing collection of his tools in her kitchen drawer, just in case. The morning everything shifted began like any other. Veronica was sorting through the month's invoices when the shop's door chimed. She looked up, expecting a customer, only to freeze at the sight of a familiar face that haunted her nightmares. "Well, well," drawled Marcus Turner, Luna's father, looking exactly as he had 3 years ago when she'd finally found the courage to leave. "Isn't this cozy?" Veronica's hands gripped the edge of her desk and her knuckles white. "How did you find me?" He smiled, that same charming smile that had once hidden so much cruelty. "Come on, V. You really think I wouldn't track down my own daughter eventually? Heard through the grapevine you were working here. You need to leave." Her voice shook slightly, but she forced herself to stand. "You lost any right to Luna when you—" "When I what?" His voice hardened. "When I tried to teach you both some discipline. When I— Everything okay out here?" Silas's deep voice cut through the tension as he emerged from the workshop, wiping his hands on a rag. His eyes took in the scene quickly. Veronica's rigid posture, the stranger's aggressive stance. Marcus turned, sizing up Silas with a practiced eye. "Just having a conversation with my girl here. Family business." "I'm not your girl," Veronica said firmly, drawing strength from Silas's presence. "And you're not family, not anymore. That's not your call to make." Marcus took a step forward. "Luna's my daughter, and I have rights." "Take another step." Silas's voice was deadly quiet. "And you'll learn about my right to defend people in my shop." Something in his tone made Marcus pause. He glanced between them, a nasty smile spreading across his face. "Oh, I get it now. Found yourself a new protector, huh? V, does he know about your habits? How you like to push buttons until someone has to put you in your place?" Veronica felt the words like physical blows, old wounds reopening. But before she could respond, Luna's voice rang out from the doorway. "Mommy!" She stood there with Ms. Diane, her backpack clutched tight, eyes wide as they fixed on Marcus. "Luna, baby." Marcus's voice turned syrupy sweet. "Look how big you've gotten." Luna shrank back against Ms. Diane, her small face pale with recognition. "Mr. Fix-It," she called out, her voice trembling. Silas moved with surprising speed for such a large man, positioning himself between Marcus and Luna. "Ms. Diane," he said calmly, "would you please take Luna to the back office? There's a new elephant friend waiting on my desk for her." As Ms. Diane hurried Luna away, Marcus's facade cracked. "You can't keep my kid from me. I'll get a lawyer. You'll leave," Silas cut in, his voice carrying the weight of steel. "Or I'll call the police. Your choice." For a tense moment, Marcus stood his ground. Then, with a bitter laugh, he backed toward the door. "This isn't over, V. You can't hide behind other men forever." After he left, the silence in the shop was deafening. Veronica's legs gave out, and she sank into her chair, shaking. Silas knelt beside her, careful not to touch her without permission. "I need to check on Luna," she whispered. "In a minute." His voice was gentle. "Breathe first. She needs you steady." Veronica closed her eyes, focusing on her breathing. "I should have known he'd find us eventually. I should have been more careful, should have—" "Stop!" Silas's hand hovered near hers, not quite touching. "You did everything right. You got out. You protected Luna. You built a life." She opened her eyes, finding his storm cloud gaze fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "I can't let him near her again. Last time," her voice broke. "Last time he broke her arm. Said it was an accident, that she fell, but I knew. I finally knew I had to leave." Silas's jaw clenched, but his voice remained steady. "He won't get near either of you again. You can't promise that. Watch me." The fierce protectiveness in his voice made her heart stutter. "We'll install better security systems. I'll teach you both self-defense. Whatever it takes." "We?" The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. "Yes, we." His hand finally covered hers, warm and calloused. Unless you don't want—" Veronica turned her hand over, threading her fingers through his. "I want," she whispered. "That's what scares me." The moment stretched, electric with possibility, until Luna's small voice called from the office. Veronica squeezed Silas's hand once before letting go, gathering her strength to face her daughter. They found Luna curled up in Silas's office chair, clutching both her old elephant and the new one he'd mentioned. Her eyes were red-rimmed but dry. "Hey, sweet pea," Veronica said softly, kneeling beside the chair. "He can't take me away, right?" Luna's voice was small. "I don't want to go with him. I want to stay with you and Mr. Fix-It." Veronica's heart cracked at the fear in her daughter's voice. "No one's taking you anywhere, baby. I promise." "We won't let that happen, princess." Silas's deep voice was sure and steady. "You're safe here." Luna looked between them, her young face serious. "Can we go home now? All of us?" The question hung in the air, weighted with childhood simplicity and adult complexity. Veronica met Silas's eyes over Luna's head, saw her own longing and fear reflected there. "Yes," he said simply, surprising them both. "Let me close up the shop." That evening, as Luna finally drifted off to sleep between them on the couch, Veronica felt Silas's arm settle carefully around her shoulders. She leaned into his warmth, allowing herself this moment of peace. "I'm not good at this," he murmured into her hair. "Relationships, feelings. I break things more often than I fix them. Good thing I've got some experience with broken things," she whispered back. "And someone taught me they're worth fixing." His arm tightened around her, and in the quiet of her small apartment, surrounded by sticky notes and children's drawings, Veronica felt something shift into place. Like the final piece of a long-broken machine, clicking home at last. They had a long way to go, she knew. Battles to fight, fears to face, trust to build. But for now, in this moment, they were together. And maybe that was enough of a start. The changes came slowly, like autumn creeping into winter. First, it was the new security system Silas installed at Veronica's apartment, his hands steady as he wired cameras and sensors. Then the self-defense lessons in the workshop after hours, his touch careful as he showed her how to break holds, how to fight back. But the biggest changes were the quiet ones. The way his toolbox migrated to her kitchen, how his jacket found a permanent home next to hers by the door, the growing collection of his books on her shelves. Again, Silas instructed, his hands positioned to grab her from behind. They'd been practicing for an hour, and Veronica's muscles ached, but the memory of Marcus's threats kept her focused. She moved through the sequence, drop weight, pivot, break grip, ending with Silas on his back, looking up at her with pride mixed with something deeper. "Perfect," he said softly, accepting her hand up. "You're a natural." I had good motivation. She didn't pull away when he kept hold of her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "Mom, Mr. Fix It." Luna's voice carried from the office where she was supposedly doing homework. "Can we have pizza tonight?" Their eyes met, sharing a smile at Luna's not-so-subtle interruption. These evening sessions had become their new normal. Practice, dinner, family time. The word family no longer scared Veronica like it used to. "Only if you finished your math," Silas called back, still holding Veronica's hand. "Almost. Just 3 more problems." "That's what you said 20 minutes ago, Princess." Luna's giggle echoed through the shop. "But they're hard. Can you help?" "Go," Veronica said, squeezing his hand before letting go. "I need to shower anyway." She watched him head to the office, where Luna's face lit up at his approach. The sight made her heart twist with equal parts joy and fear. Joy because them together, felt more right than anything had in years. Fear because happiness had always come with a price in her experience. Later that evening, after Luna was asleep in her room and the apartment was quiet save for the hum of the heater, Veronica found Silas on her small balcony. He was staring at his phone, his expression troubled. "Bad news?" she asked, joining him in the cool night air. "Nathan." He showed her the screen, a wedding invitation reminder. "He's been calling, wants to know if I'm coming." Veronica leaned against the railing, studying his profile in the city's glow. "Are you?" "I don't know." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she'd come to recognize as uncertainty. "Part of me wants to show him I'm not what he thinks, the failure who couldn't let go, but another part is afraid of giving him the power to hurt you again," she finished softly. His eyes met hers, understanding flowing between them. "Yeah, you know what I think." She moved closer, drawn to his warmth. "I think you're not the same person he left behind, and maybe he isn't either." Silas's arm slipped around her waist, natural as breathing now. "When did you get so wise?" "Probably around the time I learned that running from the past doesn't fix it." She rested her head against his shoulder. "Faz, sometimes you have to face it to heal it, like you did with Marcus." "That was different." She tensed slightly. "He's dangerous, and we're ready for him." Silas's voice carried absolute conviction. "The cameras, the alarms, the training. He won't catch us off guard again." "Us," she echoed, the word still new enough to make her heart skip. "When did that happen?" His laugh rumbled through his chest. "Probably somewhere between Luna's spelling tests and your color-coded filing system." "Hey, that system works." "It does," he admitted, turning to face her fully. "Just like everything else you've fixed in my life." The weight of his words hung in the air between them. Veronica looked up at him, at this man who had somehow become essential to her world. "Silas, I love you," he said simply, as if stating an undeniable fact. "You and Luna. I know it's fast and complicated, and there's still so much we need to figure out, but..." She kissed him. It wasn't their first kiss that had happened days ago, soft and tentative in the workshop, but it was different. This kiss carried certainty, promise, future. When they broke apart, his eyes were wide with wonder. Was that a "shut up" kiss or a "me too" kiss? "Both," she laughed, then sobered. "I love you too. And it terrifies me how much..." He pressed his forehead to hers. "Good thing we're both pretty brave these days." A small sound from the doorway made them turn. Luna stood there in her star-patterned pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Bad dream. Sweet pea." Veronica held out her arms. Luna nodded, padding over to burrow between them. The bad man was back. Silas lifted her easily, settling her on his hip like he'd been doing it forever. "Remember what we talked about, Princess. No one's getting past our security system, and even if they tried, Mommy knows how to fight now," Luna finished, pride mixing with sleepiness in her voice. "And you'll protect us." "That's right." He met Veronica's eyes over Luna's curls. Always. Back inside, after tucking Luna back into bed with promises of pancakes in the morning, they stood in the kitchen. Veronica watched as Silas moved through her space with familiar ease, making tea the way she liked it. "Stay," she said suddenly. "Not just tonight. Stay forever." He stilled, kettle halfway to the cups. "Are you sure?" "No," she admitted. "I'm terrified, but I'm more scared of letting fear stop us from building something real." He set the kettle down carefully, then turned to face her. "I break things," he warned again. "I get lost in my head. I work too much. I don't always know how to say what I feel. And I have trust issues, anxiety, and a complicated past," she countered. "We're both broken in our own ways, but maybe that's why we work. We understand how to handle broken things with care." His smile was slow but radiant. "When did you get so good at metaphors?" "I learned from the best, Mr. Fix-It." That night, lying in bed with Silas's arm around her and Luna's nightlight casting soft shadows on the wall, Veronica thought about broken things, about how sometimes the most precious repairs aren't the ones you can see, but the ones you can feel in stronger hearts, in deeper trust, in love that builds itself from scattered pieces into something whole and beautiful. And maybe, she realized, that's what love really is. Not the absence of breaks and cracks, but the patience to repair them, the courage to try again, and the wisdom to know that some things are worth the work of fixing. The first real test of their newfound happiness came on a frost-bitten morning in late November. Veronica woke to the sound of Silas's phone buzzing insistently on the nightstand. The display showed Nathan's number, glowing like a warning in the pre-dawn darkness. "Hello?" Silas's voice was rough with sleep. Then, suddenly alert. "When? Which hospital?" "I'll be there." Veronica sat up, watching as he moved through their bedroom, and when had it become theirs, with urgent purpose. "What's wrong?" Nathan's fiancée, Rebecca. His hands trembled slightly as he pulled on jeans. "Car accident. She's in surgery. I'm coming with you." She was already reaching for clothes. He paused, conflict clear on his face. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." She touched his arm gently. "That's what family does." The word hung between them, weighted with meaning. Then he nodded, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. "I'll wake Luna." The hospital waiting room was a study in uncomfortable silences. Nathan paced, his usual polish cracked by fear. Silas sat rigid, hands clasped, watching his brother wear a path in the industrial carpet. Veronica held Luna, who had fallen back asleep, her small body warm and trusting. "You didn't have to come," Nathan said finally, stopping his pacing to look at his brother. "Yes, I did." Silas's voice was quiet but firm. "Whatever's between us, she's family too." Nathan's face crumpled, years of practiced distance falling away. "I can't lose her, Si. I can't." And then Silas was up, crossing the space between them in 2 strides, pulling his brother into a rough embrace. Nathan broke, sobbing into Silas's shoulder like they were kids again, like the years of hurt and blame had never happened. Veronica watched, tears in her own eyes, as something long broken began to heal. Hours later, when Rebecca was out of surgery and stable, they sat in the hospital cafeteria. Luna was fully awake now, coloring with crayons Nathan had bought from the gift shop. "She called me," Nathan said softly, staring into his untouched coffee. "Rebecca, right before, she said she was coming to the shop, wanted to meet you, try to fix things before the wedding." He laughed bitterly. "She's always trying to fix things. Says she learned it from reading about Dad's shop." Silas's hand found Veronica's under the table, squeezing tight. "She sounds like someone who'd fit right in with us broken people." "You're not," Nathan started, then stopped, really looking at his brother. "Maybe that's what I never understood. About the shop, about you staying. Some things are worth fixing. Some things fix themselves," Silas replied, "if you give them time and space to heal." The moment was interrupted by Luna tugging on Nathan's sleeve. "Are you Mr. Fix-It's brother?" Nathan blinked, thrown by the innocent question. "Yes, I am." "Then you're my uncle." Her declaration was simple, absolute. "I never had an uncle before. Want to see my drawing?" As Luna explained her artwork to an increasingly emotional Nathan, Veronica leaned into Silas's side. "You okay?" "Getting there." He pressed a kiss to her temple. "Thank you for being here." "Always," she promised. But life rarely gives you time to process one emotional earthquake before sending another. They returned home that evening to find their apartment door slightly ajar, the new security system disabled. Silas immediately pushed Luna behind him. "Stay in the hall," he ordered, voice tight with controlled fear. "No," Veronica said firmly, pulling out her phone. "We call the police, together." Inside, the damage was methodical, personal. Sticky notes torn down, family photos smashed, Luna's drawings shredded. On the kitchen table sat a single white rose, Marcus's signature move from their past. Luna's small gasp broke Veronica's heart. "He hurt our home." "No, baby." Veronica knelt, gathering her daughter close. "He tried to scare us, but we're not scared anymore, are we?" "No," Luna said firmly, though her lip trembled. "We're brave now, and we have, mister." "Fix it." Silas was already on the phone with the police, his free hand running over the disabled security panel. His face was thunderous, but his voice stayed steady as he reported the break-in. Later, after the police had come and gone, after Luna was asleep in their bed because her room felt too exposed, Veronica found Silas in the kitchen. He was methodically rehanging sticky notes, smoothing each one with careful fingers. "This is my fault," he said without turning around. "I should have installed better sensors, should have—" "Stop." She wrapped her arms around him from behind, feeling the tension in his body. "This is Marcus's fault. Only his. He touched your lives." Silas's voice cracked. "He violated your space, your safety." "Our space," she corrected gently. "Our safety, and we'll rebuild it. Together." He turned in her arms, his face raw with emotion. "I want to kill him. I know." She touched his cheek. "But that's not who you are. You're the man who fixes things, who builds things, who makes spaces safe. That's why we love you." His forehead dropped to hers. "I can't lose you. Either of you." "You won't." She kissed him softly. "We're stronger than his fear now. All of us." A small sound made them look up. Luna stood in the doorway, clutching her repaired teddy bear. "I can't sleep. The bad man might come back." Silas moved first, scooping her up. "Want to help us fix the kitchen, princess? We can make hot chocolate and hang up new drawings." Luna's face brightened. "Can I use the special tape this time? The extra sticky kind," he promised. "Nothing's going to tear down our art again." As they worked, hanging drawings, rebuilding their wall of memories, creating new sticky note messages of love and hope, Veronica watched her little family. They were bruised but not broken, shaken but not shattered. Each piece they put back strengthened their bonds. Each moment of rebuilding brought them closer. Later, curled together in bed with Luna between them, Veronica whispered into the darkness, "We should move." Silas's hand found hers over Luna's sleeping form. "I have a thought about that. The apartment above the shop. It's bigger, more secure, and it's already wired for a serious security system." Above the shop, she could picture it. Morning walks downstairs to work, family lunches in the workshop, evenings spent together without long commutes. "Only if you want," he added quickly. "I know it's a big step, and after tonight—" "Yes," she cut him off. "Yes to all of it. To moving, to building a home together, to facing whatever comes next as a family." His smile in the darkness was like sunrise. "I love you, both of you, so much it scares me sometimes." "Good thing we're experts at handling scary things now," she whispered back, and in the quiet of their temporary sanctuary, plans for a future began to take shape. One built not on fear of what might break, but on faith in their ability to fix whatever life threw at them, together. Moving day brought December's first snow, fat flakes drifting past the shop's windows, as Veronica, Silas and Luna carried boxes up the narrow stairs to their new apartment. The space above Rowan's repairs had sat empty for years, gathering dust and memories, but now it hummed with new life and possibility. "Look, Mommy." Luna pressed her face against a window, breath fogging the glass. "So we can see the whole street from here." The apartment was larger than their old one, with high ceilings and wooden floors that creaked stories of decades past. Silas had spent weeks renovating it. New paint, updated fixtures, reinforced doors, and a security system that would make Fort Knox envious. But it was the little touches that made Veronica's heart catch. The reading nook he'd built in Luna's room, complete with twinkling lights. The expanded kitchen with space for family meals. The wall he'd specially prepared for their growing collection of drawings and sticky notes. "Last box," Silas announced, setting down a crate marked Workshop Treasures. Luna's special collection of safe parts and tools that Silas had given her over the months. His hair was dusted with snowflakes, cheeks red from the cold and exertion. "Good," Veronica said, crossing to brush the snow from his shoulders, "because someone promised us hot chocolate with extra marshmallows once we finished." Extra marshmallows," Luna corrected seriously, abandoning her window watching to join them. "And can we put up the Christmas tree today, please?" Silas caught Veronica's eye over Luna's head, his expression soft. They'd bought the tree together last weekend, their first as a family, and it had been sitting in the shop below, waiting for this moment. "I think that's a perfect moving day activity," he said, scooping Luna up in a practiced motion that made her giggle. "But first, hot chocolate and lunch. Growing mechanics need fuel." As Silas and Luna headed to the kitchen, already debating optimal marshmallow-to-cocoa ratios, Veronica stood for a moment in what would be their living room. Boxes surrounded her, each containing pieces of their separate lives now merging into one. The thought should have terrified her, this commitment, this permanence, but instead she felt oddly peaceful. The calm lasted until she began unpacking a box of photos. Between Luna's school pictures and recent family snapshots, she found a new white rose, its presence like ice in her veins. "Silas," she called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. He must have heard something in her tone, because he appeared instantly, Luna trailing behind him with concerned eyes. When he saw the rose, his face hardened. "He was in our old apartment again," Veronica said quietly. "So I must have left this in a box before we moved everything." Silas took the rose, his hands gentle despite the rage she could see building in his eyes. "Luna, sweetheart, why don't you go start setting up your reading nook? Mom and I need to talk for a minute." Once Luna was out of earshot, Silas pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the police again. This makes 3 incidents in 2 weeks." "They won't do anything," Veronica said tiredly. "That's not without direct threats or evidence of him actually breaking in." She wrapped her arms around herself, hating how Marcus could still make her feel small. "He's too smart for that. Then we'll be smarter." Silas's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. "Nathan knows people. Lawyers, private investigators, and Rebecca's out of the hospital next week. She used to work as a victim's advocate. She wants to help." The mention of Rebecca brought a small smile to Veronica's face. Nathan's fiancée had proven to be a force of nature. Even from her hospital bed, she'd immediately adopted Luna as her niece, started planning family dinners, once all this nonsense is sorted out, and begun compiling resources for their case against Marcus. "It's strange," Veronica mused, moving to the window where snow continued to fall. "A few months ago I was so alone in this fight. Now you have an army," Silas finished, coming to stand behind her, his arms wrapped around her waist, solid and secure. "And we're not letting him win." A crash from Luna's room shattered the moment. They rushed in to find her standing amid scattered books, face pale. "There was someone looking in the window," she whispered. Silas was at the window in 2 strides, scanning the fire escape and street below. Veronica gathered Luna close, feeling her daughter's heart racing. "Nothing now," Silas reported grimly. "But I'm calling Gordon at the security company. We're getting cameras on the fire escape today." "I don't want to sleep in here," Luna said in a small voice. "You don't have to, sweet pea." Veronica smoothed her daughter's curls. "How about we make a blanket fort in the living room tonight? All of us." Luna nodded against her shoulder. "Dan, can we still put up the Christmas tree?" "Of course we can, princess." Silas's voice was deliberately light as he turned from the window. "In fact, I think this calls for emergency tree decorating, with extra lights." They spent the afternoon transforming their box-filled living room into a holiday haven. Silas hung lights, while Veronica and Luna unpacked ornaments, each one carrying its own story. The white rose sat forgotten in the kitchen, its attempt at fear overshadowed by family joy. "This one goes up high," Luna declared, holding up a handmade ornament, a small wrench wrapped in ribbon that Silas had helped her make. "So it can protect us like Mr. Fix-It does." Silas lifted her to place it near the top, his eyes suspiciously bright. "Perfect spot, princess. Nothing gets past that wrench." Later, with Luna finally asleep in their carefully constructed blanket fort, Veronica and Silas sat on their new couch, watching the tree lights dance across the walls. "I should have known he wouldn't just go away," Veronica said softly. "He never could stand losing control." "You didn't lose, Veronica." Silas turned to face her, his expression fierce. "You won. You got out. You built a life. You protected Luna. He's the one who lost everything. Then why doesn't it feel like winning?" She leaned into his warmth. "Why do I still feel scared?" "Because you're smart." He pressed a kiss to her temple. Fear keeps us alert, keeps us careful, but it doesn't have to keep us from living. As if to prove his point, he stood, pulling her to her feet. Dance with me. There's no music, she protested weakly. He pulled out his phone, and soft notes filled the room. The same song that had been playing in the shop the first time he'd fixed something for Luna. There's always music, he murmured, drawing her close. Sometimes we just have to listen harder. They swayed together in the Christmas lights' glow, their shadows merging on the walls. Outside, snow continued to fall, covering the city in clean, white possibility. And if somewhere in that city, Marcus plotted and planned, for this moment at least, he couldn't touch them, because some things, Veronica realized, were stronger than fear. Some things, like love and family and the courage to build something new, could withstand any storm. They just had to hold on tight, trust in their foundation, and remember that together they could fix whatever broke. The week before Christmas brought ice storms and unwelcome revelations. Veronica sat in Nathan's downtown law office, staring at the documents spread across his mahogany desk, while Rebecca held her hand and Silas paced behind her chair. He's filing for custody. Veronica's voice sounded distant to her own ears. He can't. He has no right. He doesn't, Rebecca assured her, squeezing her hand. The documentation of abuse, the police reports, the restraining order, they're all in your favor. He's just trying to scare you. But he's got a lawyer, Silas growled, his footsteps heavy on the plush carpet. He's got money now. Where did he even get— That's the other thing, Nathan interrupted, sliding another document across the desk. We did some digging. He's been working for Howard Industrial. The name hit Veronica like a physical blow. Howard Industrial, the company that had tried to buy out Rowan's Repairs years ago, that had wanted to demolish the whole block for luxury apartments. The company Silas's father had fought against until his dying day. That's not a coincidence, Silas said, finally stopping his pacing. They've been trying to get this property for years. Now suddenly Luna's father shows up, working for them. They're using him, Nathan agreed grimly. Probably promised him money and resources for the custody battle in exchange for making your lives difficult enough to sell. Veronica felt sick, the thought of Marcus using Luna as a pawn in some corporate game. What do? We fight, Rebecca said firmly. Her recovery from the accident had only strengthened her determination to help. I've called in favors from my old advocacy networks. We're building a case not just against Marcus, but against Howard Industrial for harassment and intimidation. But that takes time, Veronica whispered. And Luna is safe. Silas knelt beside her chair, taking her free hand. The apartment is secure, the shop is monitored, and she's never alone. We've thought of everything. But they hadn't, because when they returned to the shop that afternoon, Luna wasn't in the office where they'd left her with Ms. Diane. She said her father called the school. Ms. Diane explained tearfully. Said there was a family emergency and that he had permission to pick her up. I didn't know. She seemed to know him. The next hours were a blur of police reports and frantic calls. Veronica moved on autopilot, her heart frozen in her chest as she answered questions, provided descriptions, watched Silas's face grow darker with each passing minute. The call came just as dusk was falling. Marcus's voice, smooth as poison. She's fine, V. Just spending some quality time with her real family. Where is she? Veronica gripped the phone so hard her fingers ached. Silas pressed close, his ear to the other side of the phone. Marcus, please. The old warehouse district, he said casually. You remember, where we used to talk about opening that garage together, before you got too good for our dreams. Which building? Silas demanded. Marcus laughed. Oh, the new boyfriend. Listen, tough guy. This is between me and my family, but if V wants to see her daughter— There was a pause, and Luna's voice called out faintly in the background. Better hurry. Howard's demolition crews start early tomorrow morning. The line went dead. Call the police, Rebecca ordered, already pulling out her own phone. Dan, I'm calling my contact at the DA's office. No time. Silas was already moving, grabbing his keys. That area's huge. By the time they organize a search— I know which building, Veronica said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. It was his big dream, this abandoned repair shop. He used to talk about fixing it up, making it ours. Before— She swallowed hard. Before I saw who he really was. I'm coming with you. Nathan stepped forward. No, Silas's voice was firm. Stay here with Rebecca. If we're not back in an hour, call in everyone, police, FBI, the National Guard. But right now, we need to handle this quietly. He's unstable. And Luna, "Be careful." Rebecca hugged them both quickly. "And Silas, make him pay." The drive to the warehouse district was tense with unspoken fears. Veronica stared out at the icy streets, remembering another night years ago when she'd fled through these same streets with Luna bundled against her chest. "We'll get her back," Silas promised, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "I know." And she did know, with a certainty that surprised her, because this time she wasn't running alone. The old repair shop loomed ahead, its broken windows dark against the twilight sky. A single light burned inside, casting long shadows through the shattered glass. "Remember your training," Silas murmured as they approached the side door. "Whatever happens." "I'm not afraid." Veronica realized it was true. Not anymore. They moved through the building silently, following the sound of voices. Luna's laugh echoed suddenly, her fake laugh, the one she used when she was scared but trying to be brave. "And once the mean people are gone," Marcus was saying, "we can fix this place up, make it ours. Would you like that, Princess?" "Only Mr. Fix-It calls me Princess." Luna's voice was small but defiant. They found them in what must have been the main workshop. Marcus sat in a pool of lamplight, Luna beside him on a broken desk. He was showing her something. Blueprints, Veronica realized. Howard Industrial's plans for the area. "Let her go, Marcus." Veronica stepped into the light, Silas a solid presence beside her. Marcus smiled, but his eyes were cold. "Family reunion. How nice." He pulled Luna closer. "Show them the plans, baby. Show them our future." "I want to go home," Luna whispered. "You are home." Marcus's voice shifted, that familiar edge of rage creeping in. This is what a real father provides. Opportunities, future, success. Not some rundown shop and a real father. Silas's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Doesn't hurt his child to hurt her mother. "Stay out of this." Marcus stood, pushing Luna behind him. "You're not her father. You're nothing but a replacement, a stand-in, a—" Luna bolted, ducking under his arm and running straight for Silas. Marcus lunged for her, but Veronica was faster. All those hours of training kicked in as she moved, blocking his grab, redirecting his momentum. He stumbled, caught himself, and charged with a roar of rage. What followed was chaos. Veronica fought with a clarity she'd never known, each move precise and purposeful. When Marcus pulled a knife, Silas joined the dance, the two of them working in perfect synchronization to keep Luna safe behind them. "It's over, Marcus," Veronica panted, backing him toward the wall. "The police are coming. Howard Industrial can't protect you from kidnapping charges." "It's never over," he snarled, slashing wildly. "You're mine. Both of you are mine." "No," Luna's voice rang out clear and strong. "We're not. We're a family. Me, Mommy, and Mr. Fix-It, and you can't break us." Something in Marcus snapped. He charged forward, knife raised, and met Silas's fist with a sickening crunch. He went down hard, knife skittering across the floor, blood pouring from his nose. The sound of sirens filled the air. "Perfect timing," Silas muttered, keeping a foot firmly on Marcus's chest, while Veronica gathered Luna in her arms. Later, after the police had taken Marcus away, after statements were given and tears were shed, they stood in the cold night air, watching their breath cloud in the darkness. "I wasn't scared," Luna announced proudly, though she hadn't let go of either of them since the rescue. "I knew you'd come, both of you." Silas knelt before her, his face serious. "You were so brave, Princess. But next time someone says they're from school—" "I know," she hugged him tight. "Only trust the secret password and kick them in the shins." Despite everything, Veronica found herself laughing. Here, in the aftermath of her worst fear, she felt strangely light, free. "Let's go home," she said softly. Home, to their apartment above the shop, to their Christmas tree and blanket forts, to their family, not broken, not beaten, but stronger for having faced the storm together. As they drove through the quiet streets, Luna dozed between them, secure in the knowledge that she was safe, she was loved, she was protected. And if her parents held hands a little tighter over her sleeping form, well, some things were worth holding on to with all your strength. Christmas Eve draped the city in fresh snow, turning Rowan's repairs into a scene from a winter fairy tale. Warm light spilled from the shop's windows, where a closed-for-family celebration sign hung beside Luna's newest artwork, a drawing of their entire extended family, complete with Uncle Nathan and Aunt Rebecca. Upstairs in their apartment, Veronica stood before the mirror, adjusting her dress, a deep burgundy that made her skin glow. The past week had been a whirlwind of legal meetings and court appearances, but tonight was different. Tonight was about family, about celebration, about new beginnings. "Mommy," Luna burst into the bedroom, twirling in her new party dress. "Uncle Nathan and Aunt Rebecca are here." And Aunt Rebecca brought more presents. "More?" Veronica laughed, smoothing Luna's curls. "There won't be any room left under the tree." "That's okay. Mr. Fix-It says we can build a bigger tree stand." Luna's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Is it time yet? Can we do it now?" "Almost, sweet pea." Veronica's heart fluttered. "Go help Aunt Rebecca with the desserts." "I'll be right down." In the living room, she found Silas standing by the Christmas tree, looking uncharacteristically nervous in his dark blue dress shirt. The formal clothes couldn't hide the essence of him, the capable hands, the quiet strength, the heart that had enough room to fix both machines and broken people. "Ready?" she asked softly. He turned, his eyes warming as he took her in. "You look beautiful." "You clean up pretty well yourself, Mr. Fix-It." She straightened his collar, letting her hands linger, having second thoughts. "About this, never." He caught her hands, pressing a kiss to her palms. "About letting Nathan plan the party, maybe." As if on cue, Nathan's voice carried up from the shop below. "If you two don't get down here, we're starting without you." The shop had been transformed. Tables lined the walls, laden with food. Fairy lights twinkled among the tools and machinery. Rebecca, her arm finally free of its cast, was arranging desserts while Luna helped by sneaking cookies. Nathan stood by the main workbench, which had been cleared and decorated for the occasion. "Finally!" Rebecca hurried over to hug them both. Luna's been about to burst with the secret. "It's not a secret anymore," Luna announced proudly. "Everyone knows Mr. Fix-It is going to be my real daddy tonight." "Luna," 4 adult voices chorused, but she just giggled. "What?" "It's true. The judge said so yesterday. Just have to sign the papers and have a party." Silas knelt before her, his eyes suspiciously bright. "That's right, princess. But you know this doesn't change anything about who you are, or how much I already love you." "I know." She touched his cheek solemnly. "You've been my daddy in here," she pointed to her heart, "for a long time. This just makes it official." The adoption ceremony was simple but profound. The judge, a kindly woman who had overseen Marcus's case, made the short drive despite the snow. She spoke briefly about the meaning of family, about choices and love and the bonds that matter most. When it came time for the formal questions, Luna couldn't contain herself. "Yes," she burst out, before the judge even finished asking if she wanted Silas to be her legal father. 100 million times yes. Later, after the papers were signed and the judge had gone, after countless hugs and photos and tears of joy, the party truly began. Music filled the shop, classic rock mixed with Christmas carols, because some traditions couldn't be broken. Rebecca and Nathan danced between the workbenches, their upcoming wedding rings catching the fairy lights. Luna flitted between guests, proudly showing off her new official family photos. Veronica found Silas in their usual quiet corner by the main workbench. He was holding a small wrapped package, turning it over in his hands. "Something else for Luna?" she asked, leaning into his side. "No, for you." He handed her the package, uncharacteristically hesitant. "I've been trying to find the right moment." She unwrapped it carefully to find a small velvet box. Inside was a ring, not a traditional diamond, but a unique design of interconnected gears in silver and gold, with tiny crystals caught between the mechanisms. "I made it," he said quietly, "from parts of the first machine we fixed together. I know it's not conventional, but it's perfect," she whispered, tears threatening. "I had this whole speech planned," he continued, taking the ring out with slightly shaking hands, "about how you and Luna rebuilt my world, piece by piece, about how love isn't just about the shiny new moments, but about maintaining and repairing and choosing each other every day, about how some things are worth the work of fixing, worth the time it takes to heal." "Yes," she said, before he could go on. He blinked. "I haven't asked yet. Ask me anyway." He slid to one knee, holding up the ring. "Veronica Ellis, will you—" "Yes!" Luna's voice rang out as she crashed into them both, having apparently been watching from behind a nearby cabinet. "Say yes, Mummy! Make us official!" Laughing through tears, Veronica pulled them both close. "Yes, to all of it. To us." The ring fit perfectly, as Silas slid it on her finger, like it had been made for her, like they had been made for each other. "I have something for you too," she said, once they'd all stood up and Luna had run off to announce the news to Nathan and Rebecca. She pulled out a small package of her own, a bundle of sticky notes tied with ribbon. Silas unwrapped them curiously. Each note contained a memory, a moment, a promise for the future. The last one simply read, "I choose you, every day. For all the days." "You know," he said, voice rough with emotion, "for a man who fixes things for a living, I never thought I'd be fixed myself. Never thought I needed to be, until you showed me what being whole really means." Around them, the party continued. Music and laughter, family and joy. Outside, snow fell softly, covering the city in possibilities. And in their corner of the world, in their shop full of broken things made whole again, they held each other close, because sometimes the best repairs aren't about fixing what's broken, but about building something new from the pieces. Sometimes love isn't about being perfect, but about being perfectly matched, gear to gear, heart to heart, soul to soul. And sometimes, in a small repair shop on a snowy Christmas Eve, miracles happen. Not the grand, dramatic kind, but the quiet miracles of found family, of healing hearts, of love that builds and fixes and chooses every single day. "Time for the group photo," Luna called, already arranging everyone by the Christmas tree they'd set up in the shop's front window. As they gathered together, Nathan and Rebecca, Luna between them, Silas's arm warm around her waist, Veronica touched her new ring and smiled. Some things didn't need fixing. Some things were exactly as they should be, perfect in their imperfection, stronger for having been broken, complete. 1 year later, spring sunshine filtered through the newly cleaned windows of Rowan's Repairs, catching on the fresh paint and updated sign that now read, "Rowan and Family Repairs." Inside, not much had changed. Tools still lined the walls. The radio still played classic rock, and the scent of coffee and motor oil still hung in the air. But there were new touches. Fresh flowers on the counter, children's drawings professionally framed on the walls, and photos of a wedding that had taken place right here in the shop 6 months ago. "Mom," Luna's voice carried down from their apartment above, "Dad says the washing machine is making funny noises again." Veronica smiled, setting down her paperwork. At 8 years old, Luna had appointed herself the shop's official repair coordinator, taking her role as both daughter and apprentice very seriously. "Tell your father if he didn't try to fix it at midnight while everyone was sleeping, maybe it wouldn't complain so much," she called back. Silas appeared in the stairway, looking sheepish. In my defense, the baby was already awake. Ah, yes, the baby. Little Nathan James Rowan, just 3 months old, had his father's eyes and his mother's determination to fix things, though so far, that mostly meant grabbing tools and putting them in his mouth. "Uncle Nathan and Aunt Rebecca are bringing Rosie over for a playdate," Luna announced, bouncing down the stairs. Her box braids, now decorated with silver gear-shaped beads that Silas had made her, swung with her movement. "Can we show them the new workshop?" The new workshop was Luna's pride and joy, a small, safe space Silas had set up where she could teach her 4-month-old cousin the basics of repair work. So far, Rosie seemed more interested in napping on the special cushioned work mattee, but Luna remained optimistic. "After lunch," Veronica promised, "and after you finish your homework." "Already done." Luna produced her math worksheet with a flourish. "Dad checked it this morning. He says I'm a natural with numbers, just like Grandpa was." The mention of Silas's father no longer brought sadness to his eyes. Instead, he smiled, ruffling Luna's hair as he passed. "Dad would have loved teaching you all his tricks, though he might have been surprised by your improvements to his filing system. Color coding is more efficient," Luna declared, with all the certainty of a child raised in a repair shop. "And the sticky notes help everyone remember where things go." The bell above the door chimed as Nathan and Rebecca entered, little Rosie bundled against the spring breeze. The sight of them still amazed Veronica sometimes. Nathan in casual clothes, his corporate suits long abandoned, for the comfort of a man who now spent weekends helping his brother teach repair classes to neighborhood kids. "There's my favorite niece." Nathan swept Luna up in a hug while Rebecca handed Rosie to her eager cousin. "I'm your only niece, Uncle Nathan," Luna giggled, an old joke between them. "Not for long," Rebecca said with a meaningful smile, her hand resting on her stomach. The announcement sparked a celebration of hugs and tears, with Luna immediately beginning plans for teaching another cousin the ways of the repair shop. Later that evening, after family dinner and repair lessons, after Nathan and Rebecca had gone home with a sleeping Rosie, After Luna had finally agreed to go to bed, but only if she could keep her new wrench under her pillow, Veronica and Silas stood in their living room. Little Nathan dozed in his father's arms while Veronica sorted through the day's sticky notes, now a mix of repair schedules, family reminders, and Luna's increasingly technical drawings. "Happy?" Silas asked softly, coming to stand behind her. Veronica leaned back against him, feeling the solid warmth of his chest, the gentle rise and fall of his breathing. Through the open window came the sounds of their city, their home, their life together. "More than happy," she murmured. "Complete." He pressed a kiss to her temple, careful not to disturb the sleeping baby. Even with the washing machine acting up, she turned in his arms, smiling up at him. "Especially with the washing machine acting up, because now we know everything that breaks can be fixed. Together." "Together," he agreed. And in that word was everything they'd built, everything they'd become, everything they looked forward to being. Later still, in the quiet of their bedroom, Veronica added a new sticky note to their wall of memories. It joined hundreds of others, moments captured in bright colors and careful handwriting, a tapestry of their life together. This one read simply, "Some things don't need fixing. Some things are perfectly imperfect, exactly as they are, like us." And in the gentle night, as her family slept around her, Veronica thought about broken things and fixed things, about endings and beginnings, about love that rebuilds and repairs and chooses, every single day. They were all fixers now, in their own ways. Luna with her careful diagrams and color-coded systems, Silas with his gentle hands and patient heart, little Nathan with his determined grip on any tool within reach, and Veronica herself, who had learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let yourself be fixed, let yourself be loved, let yourself be whole. The washing machine hummed its off-key song below, a lullaby of imperfection. Tomorrow they would fix it, together, adding another small repair to their growing history of healing. But for now, in this moment, everything was exactly as it should be, perfectly imperfect, completely complete, forever fixed in love. The end. If you were Veronica, what would have been the most challenging moment for you? Trusting your heart to love again after past trauma, allowing Silas to become Luna's father figure, or facing Marcus in the final confrontation. Each choice represents a different kind of bravery: emotional vulnerability, letting go of control, or physical courage. Imagine yourself in her shoes, with a young daughter to protect and a heart learning to trust again. Which moment would have tested your strength the most? Your participation in the channel is very important. Please leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like and comment your thoughts. Your participation is very important to us. See you next time.